Right, okay. Right, welcome to Language and Communication Skills for Social Work. Um, this session, I wanted us to do something to do with inference. As you can see on the projector, this inference from context. So I want us to do or to look into what is called inference. And this inference, we're going to link it with the same uh, process of intensive reading. It's under intensive reading because for us to be to maximize the process of intensive reading, there are a number of elements that we need to observe. One of them we have already talked, or some of them we have already talked about them. Issues to do with being able to scan, being able uh, to go through the text quickly, being able to use some other techniques of reading, like the SQ3R technique. That's one of them. We are trying to maximize that process to make sure that we don't waste time. So one of the elements that might make us waste time without us knowing, we have said this before, whereby you have been reading and you say, no, Sizi kuveka, right? I don't understand what's been said. Why is it so? It's because you expect the writer to be telling you exact everything, right? You want the writer to be saying, this is John, this is Noel, this is who. But even in real life, you meet people whereby they will not just mention names. For example, they will mention the name of somebody once, Peter. And now, another time, they will not mention the name. They will say, Iwe. So, for you to know who the Iwe is Peter, how do you get to know that? You can know that the Iwe is Peter because what you're going to do, you are going to be linking up evidence. Because sometimes, we're not going to say what John, and he came here. And I'm finding there are two people here. And somebody say, this is a bag for John. It was here. And somebody, when the mothers came and said, mother of John. And there's this person who came and took this bag. And he went into the house where this mother of John is. And there's no one who has entered there. Therefore, this could be John. You see? It means you are linking up clues to make a conclusion, isn't it? So when it comes to inference, is that situation we are talking about. It's more or less like you are taking a guess, right? But that guess is not just coming out of nothing, out of nowhere. There are some clues that are given, and you are observing the clues, and then you are remembering what you know. You are connecting with what you know, then you are coming with up of the conclusion. Here, definition for inference says an inference is a guess, which is a short definition. An inference is a guess that a reader makes by combining details from a text and personal knowledge, right? So when it comes to reading, this is what we are going to be talking about, because we are saying in your process of reading, you will encounter a situation whereby there are going to be details given, but the actual thing is not going to be mentioned, but there are going to be details. So you should be able to make to draw a conclusion out of those details, right? Meaning, when you are going to make a conclusion out of the details, it means you have you have inferred. That's the word now we're going to what we are using now. You have made an inference, right? Which is the close, almost some just say conclusion, right? But sometimes they say the difference would be, as you can see below there, a conclusion is a judgment about what something means based on facts and details, right? So if you're thinking about inference and the conclusion, you see they are almost the same, but they are not exactly the same. Because a conclusion is talking about facts, usually, right? I know that it's difficult to separate them, right? If somebody could say a conclusion or inference could not be penalized, it's almost the same thing, but this is just a thin line, right? Whereby this one is being taken like, okay, maybe there are facts there, but when you come to inference, it's usually there are details that you make, maybe not be factual, right? But you relate to what you know, and then you make a conclusion, an inference, like the conclusion will come in. So whatever the case, do not confuse us. I mean, this process, while we are doing the reading, this element of conclusion, had it been that it was not in the process of reading, maybe we would have just been calling it conclusion. But because we are reading text, right? We are in the process of reading text. That's why the word inference is much more appropriate. And when you say you have inferred, people would understand what you're talking about. So a reader makes an inference about what is happening, right? And the word infer, as you can see here, is a verb. It is something that we do, like it's a process that you as a person will do, and it means to come up with an idea or a hidden meaning about a situation, even though that idea is not directly told or stated, right? So that's the situation. That idea has come up to say it's going to this according to the situation. This could be this, right? But whoever maybe made or initiated the situation did not say that it is that word, right? So that's the thing. So we'll link it up, as we say, that as we are going to be reading, we are going to encounter such kind of situations, right? Whereby we are not taught directly what is about. So for you to maybe to like sum up, there's this equation, inference equation, right? To say, okay, what if you in mathematics you drop, you make equations. I know we started with algebra whereby we say a plus b is equal to this, and now when when we substitute with the actual situations, you put a situation plus situation or minus situation is equal to this. So here our inference equation could be clues in the text. Okay, there's a text, body of text, you are looking at it, so they're giving a clue, right? It has hair, it has got the 3 fingers, so those are clues. It's not being mentioned that they are talking about maybe a dog, right? But they will describe a dog, only the description of dogs, the dog will be there, right? So you're going to read the details, and you remember what you, according to the details, you say, I've seen something like this before. I've encountered a certain animal with these characteristics, right? So since it has got A, B, C, D, E, and that one has got A, B, C, D, this would be this one. So that's the process. So you have got the clues in the text plus what you know is equal to inference, right? So That's just a simple equation that maybe can help you if you're going through the text to say, okay, how am I going to say deduce that this might be? And it can be helpful. You realize it later on when other people are struggling to figure out right? Yeah, but once you try to see whoever writes, as I'm saying, they will either tell you the actual thing or they will not tell you the actual thing. They will give you details of that actual thing. You as a reader should be able to see the details and relate to what you know and make a conclusion, right? To say this is this, right? So that is what we're talking about inference. So for our newcomer, we are talking about that word you are seeing there, inference up there. We are continuing with the intensive reading. So inference is just a part of the element that you might need when you are doing your intensive reading. So as I say, inference is more or less like making a conclusion, right? You go, you read the text, you see the details, but they didn't mention that it is this. But according to the details, and you connect it with your knowledge, you make a conclusion to say it is this, right? So that's what we're talking about today. And readers and viewers you use clues from a situation. If we this one we would say that let's assume, because nowadays we have got the complex scenarios. I know here there's a sound. Some could say no, we don't have sound. But nowadays we have got even books that have got sound, right? Yes, there's a situation of a multimedia element, right? So we might see have sound, right? So there are clues in the sound, a situation, sound, images, or text. Then you get what you already know in your mind, which is your background knowledge. That okay, I know this situation. I've seen something like this before, right? Now you come up with an idea about what is happening. So that is going to be seen across the board. Okay, for the newcomers, that's why I don't like it to be coming a little bit later, because I have to be going back to make sure that we are together. Okay. Today we are talking about, you can just go a little bit. There's this term called inference, right? Maybe you have heard it before, maybe you have never heard it before. But if you have never heard it before, but you have used it before. If you have never used it before, you have seen people use it before. So this is linking to intensive reading skills, as you can see. It's under that. Why is it under that? It's because it's one of the elements that you can use as you are doing your reading skills, intensive reading skills, and it can help you to maximize, to get the most of what you are reading. As what we have been talking about, scanning, skimming, they are one of those. So as you can see, the definition of inference, we say it's a conclusion, right? That you are going to make. But that conclusion or that guess is going to be made after you have been presented with ideas or details. Right? So you're going to see details in the text, but those details are not going to conclude. They are not going to tell you that they are talking about this, right? It's like someone giving details of you to say, he said, he has got this, he has got long hair. Yeah. So this person has got, so if you, like a detective, exactly what detectives look for, right? They will ask somebody to describe a person. So they will not mention this is the person. So the detectives will get the details. Okay, he's a short guy. So because they have seen that person before, they are going to say, okay, according to these details, this person is this particular guy, or is not the one, right? So what we are saying, we are talking about writers. Usually, in your text that you are reading, you are going to face scenario whereby they will tell you what they are talking about. But now, there are a lot of circumstances whereby they will not tell you exactly. They will just describe, give you details. So these details are what are called clues, right? So when you are going through text, you might have a problem to say, they didn't mention that this is this. How can I know? I don't understand it. That's where you need to know inference, because if the details are there, you should be able to connect. It's a matter of connecting, right? One detail cannot, for example, if you say he's a tall guy, can that describe somebody completely? You need to get the height, and you need another detail, isn't it? And when they say, okay, he puts on this shirt, okay, that is closer to what you know, eh? Then you need maybe 4 or 5 details or clues to connect to make a conclusion, right? So it's the same when you go in the text, you might say, okay, they didn't talk about that. I don't know what they're talking about here, but now you have to go through and look for clues. Eh? You say, okay, they talked about this. Okay. I think maybe they might be talking about this. Then you check the text, there's another clue. Maybe it's this. Then if you check 3, 4, 5 clues, you might be able to make a conclusion with what you know, because it's got to say, okay, according to these clues, this, I've seen something or whatever, this could be this. So when you do that, it means you have inferred. That's what we're talking about. So it's a process that is important because, as I've said, it's all over the text that you read. So the ability of you to make inference can help you to be successful with what you are reading. And here, as I say, that the word infer is a verb, and it means to come up with an idea or hidden meaning about a situation, even though that idea is not directly told or stated, right? There's a short definition here whereby say an inference is a guess that a reader makes by combining details from a text and personal knowledge, right? So there should be that. And down there, there's a definition of conclusion, which is usually synonymous, or sometimes interchangeably used, where it says conclusion is judgment about what something means based on facts and details, right? But here, since we usually involve ourselves, what we know, and then the term that we are going to be dealing with is inference. So maybe to help us to keep in mind this idea, I will say that there's this equation that was developed about inference, right? So equations, I say that's why most of the time algebra at the beginning we have problems with it, because they just tell us abstract figures or letters, a plus this. Well, if you know, they are referring to the actual situation, right? So here, because we know the situation, we know we need to have clues in the text. That's the first part, okay? You have your text, you need to have to have the clues plus what you know is going to give you the inference, right? So that's a short equation that can be applied if you are trying to maybe to remember that, okay, how can we make that inference? And he also said that readers and viewers use clues from a situation, sound, image, or text, and what they already know about the world and their background knowledge to come up with an idea about what is happening. So I'll say that maybe if you talk about text, you're going to say, well, why are we talking about sound? I say nowadays, I think the world is changing. You already know. We are in the world of the multimedia world. We have got books nowadays with sound in them, right? We try to check most of these language books like German, learn German, whatever. Even PDF, try to check them. In fact, they will have audio inside, right? So it's the same situation whereby that audio would be giving you some clues, right? Some details. Some point out that could help you to understand what is actually happening, what is the actual idea. And a good reader notices the clues and uses background knowledge to come up with an inference, which is the hidden meaning. Sometimes it's most like being hidden from you. So this is just a simple diagram of that equation, right? Which is very basic equation. Okay. An example, we already talked about this situation, but we can also have another example. You say that if they could come a teacher in this room, and that teacher has got maybe a cake, and he came directly to me and leave the cake on the table and tell me happy birthday. Can you struggle to know whose birthday it is? Can you say, is it his birthday or that? It's like it's directly addressed to somebody. You will know that according to the situation I'm seeing, this is his birthday, right? So say you can have the same situation whereby someone has entered, bring a birthday cake, and just take it and leave it here without telling me, maybe yelling at me that happy birthday, right? Just leave it here and go out. How could you know whose birthday it is? How are you going to conclude to say, I think it's this one's birthday? What you're going to do, you are going to engage yourself in the process, right? And that process is going to depend on the details that have been presented. What are the details? Someone has entered with a birthday cake, or with a cake that looks to be, because when you say birthday cake, how do you know it's a birthday cake? You have seen that before, right? So that is your memory. You know that when there's a cake with some candles, that's a birthday cake. It's not something that you were born knowing, but because you have encountered it somewhere, then it is in your mind. So now that birthday cake has been taken on this table, and you're seeing that, okay, that table is the lecturer's table, and there's that lecturer, without a doubt, because it's his table, that could be his birthday. If you combine the birthday cake, if you combine the table and the way who sits on the table, you come up into making a decision, a conclusion, right? So that's what we are talking about, inference, right? Which is a scenario whereby you have to make a decision. But now, the way we are talking about these examples, you could know that it could not always be correct if the details are not adequate. Because if the person have a birthday cake and enter the door, just leave the cake at the door. We are maybe 10 people in this room. How do you know that this cake should maybe is for this person, right? It could be much more difficult, right? But because it was taken directly to a chair, to a table, then you have got more details, because you combine the birthday cake, then you combine that table, and you know the person who sits on the table. If there are many people who sit on the table, it will not be clear still. So then you need more details, right? So you'll be looking for other clues. But okay, then it will be inconclusive, right? So that is exactly even in the text, because you might have two details, but sometimes two details, they can give you a clue, enough clue to come up with the conclusion. But sometimes you might discover after having three details, you are not clear, right? So it means you need to look for much more clues to the same situation, right? To say, okay, I've got these three, let me look for more clues. So as you are reading, you'll be looking for clues. So we're going to talk a little bit about how do you maybe pinpoint some of those clues. But normally, That is a process that we need to know, that it's not automatic to say maybe one or two clues will give you the actual idea, but you might need to sometimes look for a lot of clues to make a conclusion. The more clues you have, the better, because you have the actual maybe information as opposed to a few clues and you make a conclusion, right? So that's right. I don't know. We are talking about inference. I will not repeat for the other people coming because it seems like people are coming later. But we are dealing with that when you are saying inference, which is more or less like drawing a conclusion from the details given in the text, plus what you know to know what they are talking about. Um, so yeah, there's an example that also be given here to say you can hear a dog growling somewhere, right? So you can see how these people make a conclusion, like this person say, I hear a dog growling. I can see my background knowledge here because you have heard a dog growling before. And you know that that particular sound of a dog growling is not a happy sound, right? It's like here was say the dog barking. Yeah? Usually when the dog is barking, you don't expect to say it's a happy situation, right? You know that if the dog is barking, with basic on your knowledge, it shouldn't be a bad situation. There shouldn't be a bad situation. And now you're going to take that information and then combine with the sound that you are hearing, and you're going to know that this should be a defensive type. A dog is defending us from something, right? So maybe the conclusion will be maybe there's somebody who has come outside. That's a conclusion, right? So what you have done, you have heard us the dog barking. Let me just say, you connect the sound of barking dog with what you know that when the dog is barks like this, it's a danger sign, and you connect with the situation. Maybe you are alone. It's okay. If a dog barks, it should be somebody that side. So that's how also you can become. And they also here there could be a situation say you hear people laughing, right? And the way the sound of the laugh sounds like there's a lot of or there are a lot of children playing around. So there are laughs. Also there's the sound of children, right? Okay, right. So you say with your background knowledge, you know that if there can be that situation, usually it's a happy situation, right? And at the end of the day, you might conclude, okay, maybe that could be this particular situation happening, right? So to just to also almost like talk about the same example, uh, to reinforce the inferences, as already talked about, you or the other situation, they had the clues, which is the sound, and then they use the background knowledge, which is the past experience of the dog growling or children laughing, to make an inference or to infer the meaning, right? So the meaning is going to be inferred after those clues and the information. Um, then here we have got the readers who use like I think I've talked about already this one, whereby they will use the situation, they will use if it's in the book, what you know that just have to keep in mind what do you see in the book, right? If we can remove sound, we know that in the book we're going to see apart from text, right? We're going to encounter images, right? Images like maybe graphic images like diagrams. So usually those images, I mean, are connected to the story, right? So you might have images, you might even have sometimes even some questions that are linked to the same or conclusion or something, or I mean summaries, or anything that is in the text that you know that it's pointing out to something. And usually it might be that when you go through some text, as I'm saying, it's not always that you are going to read the actual maybe situation, right? There will be a lot of gray areas in the situation whereby they will just give you clues. So you should be able to know that. So this is the same situation: background knowledge combined with the clues from the situation, image, the text, in order to make inference of what happens is that. So in here is just a few steps of the same thing we have been talking about, whereby you have your text. First, you go through that text, you decide what is happening in the passage, right? You look for details. Okay, what is happening here? They are saying this, they are saying that, there's something. That's the first part. Now, you have got those details. Next, you now ask yourself, well, what do you know about whatever has been talked about, right? Which is now your personal knowledge. And then after that, you put the fact, those information together and make that conclusion about that passage. So this, the note down there is what I was talking about. That it's not just obvious or straightforward in most cases, whereby you are going to go through text once, right? And you get the information. Most of the time, you might go through, you're not maybe getting the details. You have to reread the passage, right? Read once to see some other details. Maybe you're not clear. Read it twice or maybe thrice. Then you get the details that you want, so that you can make a conclusion. Because if you read it quickly without paying details to some information, you might make a wrong conclusion. Right, so this is just a conclusion of what I've been talked about, or I've been talking about already. You look at the details about the situation, character or setting that you are, as you read, you recall things from your own experiences that are similar to the details in the story. Then you combine the details in the same way a detective puts the details together, right? And then you conclude what the situation. And a note here is that what you are doing, you are making a conclusion, right? You are, as the best example is like a detective, like what happens in the courts. They present the details. So the more evidence that is given, the closer to the truth is going to be. Meaning, you can, as I said, you can just see one truth details and say it's like this, right? It's exactly with our real life situations, right? You have got people that you see. Based on what you see, you make a conclusion immediately. This person, I think he doesn't like me, or it's a person that maybe Wamatama or something like that. You have never talked to the person. You don't even know much about that person. Until you get more details, it's when you discover, no, this person, I thought he was like this, or she was like this, but I've discovered that she's not like that, right? Because you have gathered much more detail. So, a important element to note is to try to make sure that you observe the details, right? Another clue that can help in this process is the use of the 5W questions, right? I think this, for our colleagues in journalism, how they know that a headline or a first paragraph, which is what is called a lead, how they know that, or a story, how they know that this story is complete. Usually they tested by using the 5W, they only add an H. So 5Ws, who, what, when, where, and why. Those are the questions, right? So you can test yourself. Like you use the 5Ws when you have the details, because you're going to have the details. Then ask yourself, like here, who, the items belong to. So it's all try to have a clue, right? To say, okay, this could be this. So you could try to ask one of the two questions. You ask who, you ask what, or if it's a person, right? Okay, there's this detail, but what can this person maybe, or where can this particular thing be used? Oh, so the situation is like when you are having these questions, as you are going through, it's like you are looking for the answers for these questions, right? So where there is that answer, it's like it's a clue. You can pinpoint, okay, the where is here, the why is here, the what is here. So you connect these answers to give you the idea, right? So the question will help you about your background knowledge and make the inference, and it can be useful as you go along. So here, now we're going to concentrate on inferencing from images, right? That you have images that you want to make an inference. And as you see, it's the same thing what we have talked about. A good reader looks closely at the images. If there's an image, look closely at the image or at the images to find clues, right? And ask themselves questions about the image, and then uses the background information to infer the meaning. So the questions they are the questions we are talking about, right? There's an image that has been presented in your text. Then you look at the image. Then you try to ask a question. Okay, this situation, who is this? You even say, who is this person? Or where? So there could be some other, or why is it looking like this? Why is it so big? Why is it so small? So you link with the details that you read, because you're going to go on through, so you might have some details. Then what are you remembering as a person? Have you ever seen something like this before? If you have seen something like this before, how can it be connected with this one? Okay, I think I've seen something like this before it was like this. I've never seen. So you try to help. It will help you to sort of take some information out, bring some new information out by observing. Because the image, usually, as I say, that are going to be placed in your text are going to be linked with the whole story, right? So there should be a reason why they are placed there, and there should be a connection of why they are placing there. So that's one of the way. And they say there's another also way that you can use here. Say you can use I see, I wonder, I think. That is on the images, right? I see, I wonder, I think. Meaning you are seeing something, you are wondering why that thing is that. Then you are thinking it could be like this. So that's the process you are going to be taking yourself through when you are dealing or you are trying to make inference from images. You'll be looking the same exactly as what we were talking about. You'll be looking for clues, but if it's an image as opposed to text, because text you are going to be reading the passage to look for the clues. Is there anywhere else where they have described something? But for images, it means you're going to be looking for clues in the image, not in the text. You'll be looking for the image and looking at anything that is strange, or maybe that is giving you a clue, right? There's this separate, I think, separate field that deals with analyzing images. Maybe you have heard it before. There is a field called the psychoanalysis. Some they say they are psychoanalysts. Right? Psychoanalysis, they do the same thing. Most of these images we see in the magazine, newspaper, they are not placed there anyhow. I think we have said that before. They could say maybe this particular person has lost erections. So they will show a picture of that particular person looking sad. But it's not the current picture, right? They went to the library and selected, can you take an image where this person looks sad? So for you to look at them, for example, if they can say a happy winner, and then they have an image with a person looking sad, what can be your conclusion? Look, this person has won, but look the way he looks. I think he's not happy. You are making an inference by analyzing the text, the image, isn't it? You have heard that he has won, but when you are looking at the image doesn't show that he's happy. So you are connecting to say, although this is situation like this, the whole meaning is the person is not happy. He has won, but that could be maybe they just selected that image. But normally, if it can be maybe a live image, that's what you are going to be looking. You are going to be looking at the details, clues in the picture. Okay, he's smiling. But you see the way he's smiling. Oh, I think you know nowadays, even on social media, right? There is a lot of people who analyze images, right? Look the way he is. Look here. Like nowadays, there's this company, fashion company, Louis Vuitton. I think they sell a lot of bags, which is like a little bit feminine bags. So what they are doing nowadays, I don't know what they are trying to do. Maybe it's this woke movement. That is happening. They have, deals with a lot of male celebrities, popular ones. Now, as long as you have got a deal, they give them the money, and now they will give them to promote their items. So usually there are those bags that looks to be feminine bags. So you have seen some other celebrities, male celebrities. Kendrick Lamar is one of them, right? Appearing like they have gotten like a feminine bag. And say, why are they? And they are usually taught to go in public because they know when they go in public, the media will pick it up, right? But now it's all marketing. It's not that they like the bag, right? So for you as the one who is reading text, you could pick that up. This is an awkward scenario, right? Why is this person looking like this? So if you read the text, so maybe they are talking about this. So it's just one of the elements that you can get from the text, from the image. So in this one, when it comes to image, it's like telling you that when you are going through the text, don't ignore the images, thinking that, okay, because you are reading, these images have got nothing to do with it. No. Images are there to help you understand what is happening. So you should be able to infer from the images, right? As the way you do from the text, which is also important. So in this situation, they say, you see, there are all this question, you see, strategy that you can follow. Like say, you will be looking at maybe the clues, I see what you are saying, ask a question, you wonder, then applying background knowledge, okay? And what you're going to be focusing there, you'll be focusing on the clues, on the image, as I've already said. For example, the back of the person, they are wearing this particular maybe type of clothes, the jacket, and all those things, right? And I know that you could be able to know that this person is like this by the attire, right? Yeah, because I've said, like what they say, cowboys, right? Cowboys, they have a specific attire whereby if they put on a certain hat, a certain jacket, they say this is a cowboy, right? People who follow the media know these celebrities like this, say Beyonce, right? She has got an album, say a country album. Now, in that country album, she put on the attire that is close, synonymous with cowboys, right? So what they are trying to do is, she's trying to tell the people, there's a connection between those cowboys, which is cowboys are linked to country music from Nashville, right? So say Nashville country, with what you are seeing, the heart, this should be country music, something. So it's or most of the even the music genres, right? If you look at the image, They can give you a clue. You could know that this is a reggae album without even listening to it. Just looking at the album art, you could tell that the way I'm seeing, this could be a reggae album. You see the colors, you see the clothing, or if it's something like or other genres. So it's the same example as I'm saying that the images also have got those messages, and the meaning is like the messages in the images is exactly as in the text, whereby they might not tell you directly what they're talking about, right? But when you look at it, you could get the message. They could be saying something on the text, right? And you read the text, they're saying that this person is this. You have seen nowadays, oh, this person is like this. But when you see the person and you see what they were there put on, no. The picture, the image is telling a different message than the text. So that's where you make your inference to say, no, according to this, maybe they're trying to drive this message home. Right, so inferring meaning from message images, as I already said, that you also go through that 5Ws question and the same situation that we already done in the beginning. Just few images that random images that you could see, and without telling you anything, you could have an idea, right? That this looks to be something. So this, for example, the first one, although it's an awkward to say, that's winter. This is the winter. You know, I mean, other parts of the world whereby you have got snow. But usually, behind it looks like it's a church. And this particular shoes, you say, okay, this should be shoes that are worn when going to church. You could make it because you see the church, and you see this, you see the church, and you remember that most of the time when our women are going to church, they have got this kind of shoes. You know? So it's an inference that you could make by just looking at images like that one, right? The other one you see seems like a kid is moving around, and maybe you could even make a decision. You could look at it and say, why is this kid moving around in that road? With the coat, it seems like it's a winter again, because it's a coat, right? He's wearing a coat, or she's wearing a coat. But why is the boy not at the playground? Maybe there are no playgrounds around. Those are inferences. Because normally, had it been their playground, like in most of these developed countries, you have got the kids' playgrounds almost everywhere. Unlike in our country, whereby if you say this area, you want the kid to be playing somewhere, where are you going to take the kid? It's like you have got a problem. But in most of these countries, it's like anywhere you find a shop, there's a playground, kids' playground. Now, if you're finding a kid walking alone like this, maybe there are no playgrounds around. That could be a conclusion, right? So this is just one of the right. Okay. What else? I think this is just going to the same about yes. Yeah, okay. Fine and you. Right. All right. Okay, so like that one, what inference can you make? If you can see, if you are seeing a photograph like this one, with what you are seeing in all the image, what's your conclusion? What's the conclusion? What inference can you make out of this? This is an obvious element, eh? Yeah, you will just, because you are seeing elements that are related to Christmas, eh? And obviously you say, oh, this should be Christmas time, right? Or the Christmas day or something. How about this? If somebody can ask you, what do you think these items belong to? What could be your answer? Like in Malawi, we can remove that had the grenade up there, because this is now like in the other world. In Malawi, you could remove that hand grenade, but the rest could be available, right? And I know it's already given us a clue there. You could say this would be items for a police officer, right? Right? But now, had it been you have never seen a police officer before, would you be able to conclude that this belonging to police officer? And had it been if it was not even written there, you could not be able to conclude. But because you have seen a police officer before, and you could be able to say, okay, he's got a jacket, there's this cap, those specs, you have got those. Oh, if you combine all this could be belonging to a police officer, right? So those are just an examples of how, I mean, so these items I'm showing you, imagine if it's in text, it's like now the information in the text, whereby you observe few information and then you try to put together the information to put them together. Now, also you can make inference from sentence, right? A sentence, as we usually do. And in here, what you're trying to do, say, is the same thing. You are trying to understand the hidden meanings that are in the text so that you can have a deeper understanding of what's happening, right? And you piece together the clues, the know plus what you know. So what you do here, you build your understanding as you read, right? Because this is just text, and sometimes you need to reread, as I already said, to make sure that you have understood a particular point, right? And a good reader, which is similar to images as we talk about, looks closely at the words in a sentence to find clues and uses the background knowledge to infer meaning. So it's not a matter of just reading, perusing the page, but you have to make sure that you are looking close at those words that have been used, right? There could be specific words that are used that are giving you clues. Maybe, for example, if you say, this is not, or a very big. So you have clues like those, right? That are telling you, are giving you clues. Let me see here. As you think aloud, because you have to be thinking aloud. This is usually we are encouraged to say that when you are reading, you should have that inner voice of speaking or reading aloud in your head, right? So usually, as I said, that if the text is yours, whatever, it's advisable to say you are reading. Where you find an interested word, try to circle that particular word, right? To say, okay, you are going through, this is interesting, you make a circle there. You go through, you find another word, you make a circle there, right? So as you go through, when you are done, for you to make an inference, you'll be going through those particular interesting words. You say, okay, this is the key. Those are key words. That's what we're talking about. It's like when you are reading, you are looking for key words. You go through and they say, okay, I've circled this. Okay, that the particular thing I'm trying to look for, it has got this, that. What can this be? And then you see, okay, if it has got this and that, this could be that. By looking at what you... So that is help, because if you have the text, the whole package, board of text, and if you don't indicate where there are specific words, you might miss them, right? So when you are trying to make an inference, you might not know that, okay, these are the keywords. And you say, I think I've read about this. But when you indicate them where the actual keywords, it can help you to make an easy conclusion of what the meaning could be. For example, here, there's an example to say, just a sentence. Max blew out the 7 candles that were nestled into the icing on the cake. So that's a statement. There's a gentleman called Max blew out the 7 candles that were nestled into the icing on the cake. So you'll be thinking, okay, what are the keywords in here? Keywords in here, there's Max, right? Then there's blew out the candles, which is another keyword. And there is icing on the cake. So you're going to connect. You say, okay, if there is Max, now there were candles there, and there was icing on there was ice on the cake. So, there should be something linked, maybe it is a birthday cake or something, right? So, you'll be making your inference out of that. Okay. Right, let's see here. This is the same situation where we're talking about the examples. Um, and this is just trying to dissect the same example, whereby you say, if it's Mark's birthday, I can also see another clue in the sentence that makes me think that perhaps it is Mark's birthday, and I'm on the right track. So if you think it's Mark's birthday, okay. If you are not so sure, your idea is okay. Look for more clues, but you have got the first impression to say it might be this particular person's birthday, right? Now you also might have a situation whereby you want to make an inference from a group of sentences, not just one sentence, right? Right. So maybe the difference could be, if you can have one sentence, it means all your clues are going to be in one sentence. But if there's a group of sentences, you can't make an inference based on one sentence. That's a situation, right? Because they are a group. I mean, because if there are a group of sentences, there are some other situations whereby, I think we have seen some that kind of writing, whereby you have got the first paragraph talking about positive things. The second paragraph, the opposite, right? Maybe it's some people, they speak creative writing. They can start by, you have done a lot of things to me. You have done this. You are the best person in the world. That's the beginning. But where it's going to the second paragraph, there is a but somewhere. But what you did yesterday, and if you read the first part, you can say, "Oh, this is a person who is giving praise to somebody," without knowing that the whole idea of the whole text is that the person is ending a friendship. So you know that by reading all the text, going through all the text up to the end. So that's a situation that you need to know as you go through. We have seen that before. Sometimes when you say, okay, there's this assignment, then you go through a text, then you just read the chapter, maybe half of the chapter. Without finishing the chapter. No, at the end of the chapter, maybe they have changed something, right? So that's where the situation is telling us that if you want to make an inference out of a group of sentences, make sure that you go through all those sentences and look for clues from all those sentences to come up with an inference, as opposed to just looking at a very few sentences, right? Let us say a good leader closely looks at the words in a group of sentences to find clues and uses the background knowledge to infer meaning. As we read more than one sentence, sometimes our influence may change as we come across more clues, right? So that's the idea, as I'm saying, in a group of sentences, go beyond just reading a few. So this is just an example for this sentence. I cannot go through it, but it's talking about, the same Marx, but it's now having a number of sentences in it. Like the first one we talked about, we talked about just one sentence. Marx blew out the 7 candles, but now this time around, there's additional sentences, right? As he rocked up, he saw his sister, and go by. So then you have got this one, the situation that you can do. You understand. You have understood already the first part. It means you don't have a problem. You made an inference out of the first sentence. But for you to make an inference for the whole package now, it means you have to read the other sentence, and now you have to highlight the key ideas you are seeing, as you can see. But okay, the next sentence, there's the key idea. One of them is sister flailing her arms, then turning to, then which is returning to their mother, which is another issue. Holding the toy, another, unwrapped this ball. So these are the other additional clues now, that if you combine these clues with the first inference you had, with what you know, you can come up to an actual conclusion of what this text means. Say, okay, and it means this, right? So this is just quickly an